manga should I read? A simple yet dangerous question with hundreds, if not thousands of responses that could answer it. You like incredible characters, world building, a fantastic story? You should read One Piece. Don't listen to him. Trust me. If you read Vinland Saga, your life is going to improve so much. Look, life is tough. I know you can relate to this. Berserk is all about persevering no matter what happens to you. Do you like men? Are you the JoJo fan? No, I was just asking. Oh, I mean, hey, that's cool. I've been reading manga for some time now. I've read quite a lot of series, if you can't tell by the giant bookshelf behind me. But I honestly feel like lately I've been falling a little bit behind, especially when it comes to some of the new stuff. Like, I genuinely don't really know what's popular right now. Like, I know One Piece is good, and I know JoJo's is good, and I know all this stuff that came out a couple of years ago is good, but what's good now? It's definitely been a bit since I've gotten my hands on something really juicy. I'm really hoping in today's video we could find something that could take a place in my list of favorite manga of all time. But obviously nothing has yet because the video just started, so we'll check back in at the end to see if that actually happened. Ladies and gentlemen, it's time to open the floodgates, but what do we actually read? That's the question that I've had when thinking about this video. My original plan was to ask people, you know, a one-on-one kind of thing about which manga I should read, but that would take too long, it's not efficient, and I'm going for a lot of recommendations here. I also have a couple of questions that I want to ask people when getting these recommendations, so I realized the best way to get as many as possible to maximize responses and have everyone answer all the questions that I care about, let's make a Google form. This is gonna be fun. Out of every single thing I could possibly think of, this is probably gonna be the most efficient way to get as many recommendations as possible while also having people answer the questions that I'm looking for when I'm getting these recommendations. I'm really hoping that people don't just say, read this series because it's good. Stop! No, please! That would suck. Okay, so let's title it. Recommend me a manga to read. Very simple, very easy. People should be able to understand. Forum description. Obviously, I don't want to just have like 50 billion responses that say, read JoJo's, read Haikyuu, read Dr. Stone. I kind of want to get a variety of series, stuff that I haven't heard of. I'm assuming that 90% of this is just going to be shonen stuff that gets recommended to me, which will be stuff that we do check out because there are some shonen series that I have been skipping out on. But I'm really looking for the 10% here, the really niche things, the interesting stuff, the hidden gems that I didn't even know that I was going to like. But oh my God, now that I have it, I can't put it down. Get a bit creative with this. Recommend me some hidden gems or things that are not mainstream, or if you don't have anything, mainstream stuff is cool too. All right, obviously human beings, the more tasks we give them, the less likely they're gonna do it. So we wanna make this short and simple. Maybe like 3-4 questions max. I think that's like a good sweet spot for this kind of thing. Question 1, what manga should I read? Very simple, short text answer. This is required, obviously. It would be stupid if people just filled out this form and then didn't answer this one. Next question, people's names. I don't want any specific details. I'm not trying to dox anybody. I'm not trying to have the internet come after them and them to die. If I just get recommended something really great, I just want to be able to give a shout out to that individual. So we're gonna obviously just add that here. Third question, a brief description about the series, just so we kind of know what we're getting ourselves into. This is gonna be 1 to 2 sentences max. Hopefully people don't send entire essays, because bro, I ain't reading all that. And then question number 4, why do you love it? What does the series mean to you? I just think this one is like nice. I think this one's adorable. All right, I think that is good. We're gonna publish this. Now I think we just send this out. With 57.6 thousand subscribers, I'm hoping that we get at least 1 response. Let's go to the community tab. Okay, I think that should be good. There it is. It is now published. I'm gonna send the link to a couple more places, maybe some like Discord servers. It's been about a minute and we've already gotten about 8 responses, which is pretty cool. 9 now. We're gonna check back in tomorrow and we'll get to reading, I guess. Oh, hi. Don't be alarmed, okay? It's still me. I know I look a little bit different. It's not like I have the real Teniz locked up in the closet right next to me or something. Why would you say that? Stop, I'm recording. I have a bit of a confession to make, okay? It's not 24 hours later, it is 48 hours later. I was supposed to record this yesterday, but we're doing it today. Okay, let's go back. Let's go ahead and check out the results of the Google form and see if we got some cool recommendations. Okay, let's do this. Jarvis, turn on my laptop. So, from what it looks like, we have gotten 501 recommendations. The bulk of these are probably going to be repeats, but still, that's a lot. That's crazy. Yeah, I already see some repeats right here. 2 Attack on Titans, Dragon Ball Super, Kagurabachi. Yeah, this is a lot of shonen stuff. Record of Ragnarok is not a shonen, so hey, there's a little bit of variety here. I'm gonna take a handful of these and check them out. Here's the number of how many I ended up checking out in this video. Wow, that's a big number. Oh my god. So obviously I can't really read every single one of these or else this video would be so long. But I do want to get a good first impression of each one of these series. So I was thinking with anime, the general rule is to watch the first 3 episodes. With manga, I think we're going to check out the first 5 chapters. I feel like that should be good enough to understand the direction most of these mangas are going to go and if I would even like it. Also, I think it's going to be fun to implement some kind of tier list into this video. Wherever your series lands in this tier list does not determine how the entire series is as a manga. I'm probably still going to piss some people off. Who cares? Whoa, whoa, whoa. By the way, if any of the manga we check out in today's video interests you, you're thinking about picking it up, you should head on over to Manga Mart. They're kindly sponsoring today's video and their website with some of the cheapest prices on manga I've seen in today's market. That's recently been the place that I've been going to pick up all of my manga. They have discounts on their regular volumes, box sets, pre-order volumes, and everything ships to your house in incredible condition. Seriously, they're super awesome. And the people behind this website are really focused on making sure that other people that love manga just as much as them can get the books that they're looking for. I have a link down below if you want to go check them out. All right, let's check the first manga out. I've heard talks of this manga here and there, a vampire manga with some romantic elements sprinkled in, and that description is pretty accurate. But honestly, not in the way I was expecting. Okay, so our main character's name is Ko. That's it. Pretty simple name. Ko is 14 years old and he has insomnia. He finds it really tough to sleep at night. One day when he was browsing Reddit online, he saw that there was a post saying that walking outside helps people fall asleep. So the 14-year-old kid ends up sneaking out of his house and going on a walk. And I just gotta say, I think the mangaka does a really good job in writing this dialogue to really sell the fact that this kid has just never done this before. Because like right away, he's like, oh my god, this is awesome. It's like walking outside with barely any lights on. Dude, it's like I'm the only person out here. This is crazy. Oh my god, look at this homeless guy. The whole time, I'm just thinking, dude, this kid is gonna die. Someone's gonna kill him. Somehow, this dude wins the lottery on life because instead of him dying, a girl in a cloak ends up spending time with him and then invites him over to her house to sleep with him. What? Bro, he's 14. Let's chill out a little bit. Thankfully, they aren't planning on doing the you know what? Instead, it's revealed that she's a vampire and she wants to suck his blood. Ah ha ha. And then she does. And so, is he a vampire now? No. But the main character is like, damn, high key, I really like this nighttime stuff and I really liked hanging out with you. So actually, could you turn me into a vampire? And she's like, yeah, I could, but there's like one condition. To become a vampire, you actually have to fall in love with me. This is genuinely the premise of this story. And then we go on to the next couple of chapters where we see individual nights of these two spending time with one another and growing closer. This manga so far is solely carried by the idea that you're going to appreciate the dynamic between these two. And honestly, I did. So I like this manga. As I was reading through this series, I also had a lot of questions in my mind. So like, if a person has to fall in love with a vampire to become a vampire, and she's a vampire, who did she fall in love with and why aren't they around? I'm very interested about this. I want to know what happens. The story overall seems very, very simple so far, but I think the simplicity allows for the mangaka to make some really stellar chapters. Overall, I really like this one. I'm gonna give it a B. Looking at this title, I didn't really think this story was going to amount to much. So like, there's this dude, and then there's his cat. Is this like Garfield the manga? No. Oh my god, I was so wrong. It's actually really good. So right away, this manga ended up putting a smile on my face. I genuinely laughed out loud when I saw that the story started off from the cat's perspective. I just thought that was really adorable, kind of clever. We start off this story with this ugly, fat, almost 1-year-old cat sitting in a glass box hoping someone, please, anybody, just adopt me. People show up often to this pet stop, but every single person takes one good look at him and is like, nah, I don't want this one. Nobody wants him until this old man decides to choose him, and that's pretty cool. I love the hesitance the cat displays here. He's like 30% really excited for this and 70% thinking this is some kind of joke and that someone set him up. It's honestly kind of sad and sweet to see this little guy finally getting chosen. We get a glimpse into the old man's life as well to see what led him up to this point. Apparently he has a wife and kids, and the wife suggests that when the kids leave the nest, the two of them should go out and get a cat. So that's why he's here, to pick up the family cat. Except when he brings the cat home, nobody's there. The kids, I'm assuming, have at this point grown up and moved out, but where's the wife? I was getting a little startled by this and also very intrigued. I only read 5 chapters, but I feel like I can guess the general vibe that this manga is going to go for. I think this is going to be a very human story about an old man who has lived most of his life, you know, had kids, had a wife, and possibly even had to deal with the passing of a loved one and continuing to move forward in that life despite it all. Or maybe the wife was just at the store and she'll be home soon. I don't really know. I only read 5 chapters, but oh my god, I'm really hooked. I really like this one. I'll give it an A. So for some reason, I would say that this story felt really refreshing to read. We just get dropped into this fully realized world and are just left trying to figure it out. Our main character, Mao Mao, we get a little bit of a lore drop for them. They were abducted and sold off a couple of months ago to work as this maidservant in a kingdom, and she has just been here ever since. And that's kind of all the information you get. Now the story just begins. She used to be an apothecary and quite knowledgeable in the world of drugs and poisons. She also knows how to read and write, which most maids in her field just frankly don't. Nobody really thinks too much of her till one day in attempting to subtly leave a note containing some tips to save the life of a baby, which ends up working. She catches the attention of one of the princesses and she's promoted to be her full-time lady-in-waiting. Now she lives in the palace with the job of making drugs and testing food to make sure the princess or other people in this palace don't die. Which honestly kind of seems really messed up, except she is somehow the perfect person for this job. See, Mao Mao at a young age used to conduct experiments on herself. She would eat poisons and have snakes bite her just to see what would happen. You know, just classic childhood stuff. As a result, she developed quite the tolerance for all this stuff. The characters in the series are genuinely great, though none of them have intrigued me so far to the level that Mao Mao has. Mao Mao is definitely the one carrying the story, and man, what a great story this is. I mean, not much happens in terms of like high intensity stuff. Also, I don't really know what the overarching plot line is. Like, what's the goal? I don't really know. And also, I don't really care. The manga just really captivates its reader through its nice panels and writing. The chapters for this manga were pretty long and meaty, about 50 chapters each, and yet I was just flying through them. This manga is pretty nice, and dare I say, a very calming story to just open up and read. Kind of gave me similar feelings to when I was first checking out Fragrant. I actually really enjoyed this one. I'll give it an S. Huh? What is this? I'm so invested in this. When looking through the list of manga recommendations, this title had caught my eye just because I had never heard of it before. This manga is on the shorter side, being about 47 chapters total, and the premise, okay, it might be a little hit or miss for you, but I did definitely like it. So the story takes place in this post-war torn world. The land has been wrecked, giant damaged buildings all over the place, and these 2 little girls just found in the middle of it all. Who are these little girls? We don't know. Where are they from? We don't know. Where are they going? We don't know. The first chapter mentions them seeing sunlight for the first time in a long while, which only just leaves me with questions of what happened to these 2? How is that even possible? As the story progresses, we see them exploring this world. They see broken planes and search it for rations. They find a pipe with hot water and use it to make a makeshift bath for themselves. These little girls were very fascinating to follow along because they don't really give us much to follow along with. They kind of don't really know what's going on. The girls spend one chapter discussing what they think war is and why they think people even do it. Huh? If you're living in this world, a world you are exploring with nobody around, how would you not know what war is? Okay, I'm so confused. Where did these girls come from? This story is giving you everything and nothing at the same time. Was it a disease that wiped out everything? A zombie apocalypse? A nuclear fallout? Seriously, why have they not met any other characters yet? I really like this story, like quite a bit. I'm gonna give it an A. I am really liking this manga. So this teacher's name is Koro Sensei, and man, even though he's gonna blow up the earth in a year if this classroom full of kids don't manage to kill him, he is such a likable guy. This guy's like supposed to be the villain, right? I'm supposed to be wanting him dead, right? For some reason, I don't. I don't want the next chapter I read to be the one where he does bite the bullet. In the 5 chapters I've read so far, there's been a decent amount of information given to us, so let's go over it. Firstly, this dude seems actually impossible to kill, because he has the ability to maneuver his body in unnatural ways to dodge attacks. Next, he's able to fly and run at Mach 20. For reference, that means he could go to Japan, get some food, and come back in roughly 10 minutes. That's insane. The kids who are tasked with killing him are a part of this class, Class E, which is where all the kids who low-key suck at school go. They're a classroom full of kids that are heavily looked down upon. They're labeled as the bottom of the barrel. These kids will be awarded $10 billion if they manage to kill their teacher, which is actually so sick. We see some pretty cool and pretty bad assassination attempts in this manga. The whole class whips out weapons and starts unloading it on their teacher, and somehow that didn't work. One of them jumps onto the teacher, sacrificing themselves in an explosion. That somehow didn't work either. Another one throws a baseball at him coated in a material that damages the teacher. That also didn't work. That one actually seemed like the worst one. Why would you do that one? This story has such a fun premise, and I'm so intrigued to see where it's gonna go. And man, in chapter 4, we get introduced to this new character named Karma, and he is sick. He's a kid who just got off suspension and is back to attend class. He is bloodthirsty, manipulative, and the only one who has damaged Koro Sensei so far. I am so intrigued to see how these two characters' dynamic is going to play out in the future. This manga is an S. This manga is the perfect blend of excellent writing, action, and a hilarious concept to bring it all together. This is a story about a rooster who's on a quest for revenge after his little sister was killed by demons. The stuff that happens in this story and just the way it all unfolds, it feels like the early days of the One Punch Man manga. With just how dramatized every battle would be in that manga till Saitama would just come in and defeat the monster with one punch. This manga feels very similar to that, except now the main character is a rooster and all the side characters are also animals. There's this one chapter where the rooster during his travels arrives on a beach and suddenly a sea turtle rushes over from the depths of the ocean and the two of them just start battling. Their battle ends in them calling it a truce, and we start to find out more details about this turtle. When he was young, his brother and sisters hatched from eggs and felt the ocean calling to them. They started crawling towards the ocean, but on their way there, their family got attacked by a pack of hungry seagulls and then they died. And well, the turtle, he swore that he was gonna get stronger and avenge his fallen brothers and sisters. It's so goofy. When the turtle got older, he trained for 3 days and 3 nights and managed to defeat the seagulls. And ever since then, he's been defeating this beach, fighting any bird that approaches it. It is just so serious how the story is told, and it's so moving. But also like, man, this is coming out of a turtle's mouth. The artwork and paneling for the action sequences in this manga are also just spectacular. I didn't know I needed a rooster fighting monster manga, but now that I have it, I just don't want it to stop. Also, at the end of chapter 5, we get a tease for this new character who's a chicken wielding a grappling hook and an electric sword. What? Where did this even come from? This manga is so cool. I'm gonna give it an S. If you want a shonen story with a pretty interesting premise and an amazing power system, you should probably check this one out. Rudo lives in a world where wealthy people live on one side and dirty broke people live on the other side. Rudo is rightfully annoyed by how this world works and how the upper class not only treats them, but the things that they own. See, this is a story about valuing one's own possessions. We find out later that this sole concept is the building block of the power system in this series. After Rudo gets wrongfully framed for the murder of his stepdad, he is cast off the edge of town down into the trash pits. No one really knows what's down there. The world has just been dumping whatever they deem as filth over the edge. Rudo is filled with rage, managing to survive the fall he deems to make it back up there and kill everyone who did this to him. There's just one problem though. How is he gonna get back up there? Okay, actually there's 2 problems. How is he gonna survive this encounter with the trash beast? This story is honestly pretty fun so far, and the world is actually so unique. I'm very curious for what the mangaka has planned for later chapters in the series. I think the initial foundational chapters were really solid, except for chapter 5. That one kind of sucked. Really bad, but the rest were good. Anyway, I'm gonna give this series a B. This is a slice of life series about 2 high school delinquents with crazy haircuts. The story is primarily a gag manga, with each chapter being centered around some kind of funny premise. Like one chapter, these guys dress up as a girl and then they beat up dudes. I thought this manga was charming, and the small selection of chapters I read had some rather enjoyable moments. Overall though, I just didn't really find myself really itching to keep reading past the 5 chapters. I didn't really like this one. I'm gonna give it a C. Dude, what is it with stories where characters are playing games where if they lose, they actually die? That is just so addicting to consume. I have heard so many comparisons when it comes to the series that I'm gonna share with you, just in case you haven't heard them. People say this manga is like Squid Games, or Squid Games is like this manga. I don't know which one came first. I'm too lazy to check. Oh my god, dude, this manga is so good. Okay, so like we got the 3 main characters. They're high school students wandering around, and then suddenly this firework like explosion occurs and they're warped into like maybe an alternate reality. It actually isn't really quite clear or like specified what actually happened to them, but regardless, they're transported away from everything that they had to this world where they have to repeatedly play life-threatening games where if they lose, they die die. Not much about the inner workings of this world has been revealed to us yet, and honestly, I think that's probably one of the most interesting aspects of the story. It genuinely is the thing that got me really hooked. I want to know what's going on. How exactly did the characters get here? What is going on? Who exactly is behind all of this? And will the next game be the final one for them? I found the cast of characters we got introduced to very likable and super real. I like the fact that our main characters are just people. No special abilities, no flashy quirks, just characters that are written to feel real. I always had a feeling I was going to like this manga, but oh my god, I really like it. More than everything I've read so far in this video, actually. Which leads me to doing this. I'm creating a new tier, an S+ tier. The S+ tier is for manga that I was just thinking, man, screw the video could wait. I'm gonna keep reading past the 5 chapters. This manga is our first one on the S+ tier. Oh, another aspect of the story that I really like is the creativity of the games themselves. At first, they seemed very surface level, but each one of them has this hidden twist or like trick you need to use to outsmart the system to keep surviving. Genuinely, super excited to see what happens next. This manga cooks. I currently have a pretty bad case of Pokemon fever right now. The video I made before this was me watching every single Pokemon movie that has ever been created, and it's probably one of my favorite videos I've ever made. Part of the reason being that I just love Pokemon so much as a franchise, even though the video games have not really been that great lately. I recently collected all 10 of the collector's edition versions of this manga, and I haven't properly sat down and read them all yet. So I figured I'd use this video as a chance to refresh myself with the beginning of this series, and oh my god, it's awesome. Okay, so our story follows Red as he sets off on his quest to become an incredible Pokemon trainer. The story takes place in the Kanto region and follows all the beats you would expect to get from a story like this. Red goes off to choose his starter Pokemon. He's filling up his Pokédex. He finds someone as a rival for his adventure. In this story, the rival is Blue, and he even goes and fights in gym battles. But this story, oh my god, it's so much more than that. It's weird, and honestly, a must read for anyone that is a Pokemon fan. The story and the characters are just so well written, and the Pokemon have so much personality to them. My favorite so far is Red's Pikachu, who just looks so annoyed to even be a part of this whole adventure. It's so silly, and frankly, I just love it. We get a bunch of one-off chapters as well that just do a really good job in fleshing out the world. Like, there's this one where a Mama Kangaskhan is just trying to make sure her baby is okay. It was such a sweet chapter to read. I really liked it. Genuinely, just had a lot of fun reading through this manga, and it made my inner child super happy. I'm gonna give this series an A. Okay. High key, feeling pretty mixed on this one. So this is a romance story about 2 characters who go to different schools, which doesn't seem like that interesting of a plot line, and it's not. Okay, here's the thing though. The 2 schools, they don't like each other. They're just really mean to each other. And it's a big no-no to be talking, let alone being seen around people of the other school. Which like, yeah, it kind of still doesn't make me care about the series. I understand the underlying message that the series is trying to tell. That being, don't discriminate someone due to factors outside of who they actually are as a person. You know, before you look down on someone, how about you actually take the time to get to know them? I get it. I get what they're going for. It's a nice message, but oh my god, this manga is just trying so hard to convey it, and it's kind of frustrating. Every chapter, I feel like as a reader, I'm being talked down to. Constantly the story is telling me what I'm supposed to be thinking and the lessons I'm supposed to be learning, rather than just trusting the fact that I will understand it. It also just doesn't help with the fact that the main character is the most pick-me individual I have ever seen, constantly bashing himself, blaming every little inconvenience that would happen in the story on himself, which results in the main female protagonist being like, dude, don't say that stuff about yourself, because I think you're really cool. I honestly thought this was really annoying. I'm not saying that an unconfident character is a bad thing. Some of my favorite characters in mangas are the ones who don't really think they're capable of more, but later on in the story, they're inspired by the ones around them, and as a result, they start feeling better about themselves. But oh my god, this dude is really obnoxious. I don't like him. If this story gets better from here on out, then that's pretty cool. But for now, I'm gonna give it a C. Okay, so this is another romance story, and I chose to read this one right after the last one because I was just thinking maybe I'm just not into this romance story manga stuff. But after reading this one, that's not the case because I actually like this one. Okay, there is still some gripes that I have with it, but overall, I appreciated that the fact that the dynamic between these 2 just felt real. There is a genuinely good reason for why these two become close with one another. So ladies and gentlemen, the story of Blue Box is as follows. There's this young guy who's pretty good at badminton, and he gets inspired to work harder because of this one girl who trains practically every day to get better at basketball. He ends up developing feelings for her, and later on in the story, he ends up working the courage to go up and talk to her. That's pretty cool. The two of them hit it off decently, but then this is where the twist happens. Due to circumstances in the story, now the two of them are going to be living together in the same home. Genuinely, this plot point took me by such surprise, and initially I was turned off by this, but also kind of open to the idea of it. I was just intrigued how the author was going to manage to make a story like this work with that premise. And turns out it kind of does work well. It doesn't even feel that weird. Having the two characters in the same house causes them to actually get close to one another naturally. It doesn't feel like the story is forcing chemistry on us, but everything is playing out how it should. The two leads are also pretty well written and make for some really fun characters to follow. I do like this story so far, but I also gotta be honest, it doesn't really have me super hooked. I don't know. It just wasn't really doing it for me. I'm gonna be giving Blue Box a B. My Hero Academia was the first manga I had ever read. I caught up with the series in 10th grade and was a weekly reader for it for about a year until I felt like the series kind of got stale and I ended up dropping it. Vigilantes was always something I knew about, but never really cared to check out. I just figured that spin-offs of any type of story would always be a couple of notches down in terms of quality. And at this point, I was not really thinking the best of My Hero Academia, so Vigilantes, I didn't really think it was gonna be good either. And well, after checking out the first 5 chapters, it's actually not that bad. So this is a story set in the past before Deku ever met All Might and got his powers. Koichi is a kid with a pretty lackluster quirk called Slide and Glide. This allows for Koichi to slide on the surfaces of things with speeds about as fast as a motorbike. Using quirks in this world without a hero license is illegal, but Koichi does it anyways, and as a result, he is something of a vigilante. The streets call him Mr. Nice Guy. He does all the classic hero stuff like picking up garbage, helping people with directions, holding people's phones to take photos of them, till one day, he gets into a bit of a conflict, which results in him meeting and teaming up with these 2 vigilantes as well, and from there on, the 3 of them form this like mini group where they work together to take down bad guys and figure out who is behind the quirk-enhancing drug Trigger. If you're a fan of the My Hero Academia story, I really think this is worth checking out. It has some pretty fun moments, and a lot of characters from the main series are just showing up constantly, and it's kind of cool. I'm gonna give the series a B. This recommendation comes from another YouTuber, the Manga Sloth. To Your Eternity is a manga series I actually already own, but I never really sat down to properly check it out. So here we go. The manga is really unique in its setup, and I think that's one of the most interesting parts about it. Our main character that we follow is this orb, like a ball of energy that has been cast onto the earth to learn, grow, and evolve. Not much is really shared with us at the beginning of this manga, and honestly, I don't really know if we're gonna get more information on where this thing even came from. The orb arrives onto Earth and transforms into a rock, to which it spends a lot of its time just sitting there. Eventually, the orb learns to develop moss on itself to avoid the cold temperatures of the snowy biome it's found itself in, and then it continues to just sit there again. That is until one day a dying wolf comes by and the orb sees this and transforms into that wolf. This is when the orb starts learning what it means to be hungry and what it means to feel pain. The orb runs into this young boy who mistakenly thinks that the orb is his wolf that has been missing for 2 months. The orb, under the young boy's care, now starts to develop a bond with him. He learns the concept of having a home and sleeping and eating. This is a story of adaptation, and the orb is a being that just can't die. And if it does, it just regenerates and keeps moving forward. Though the orb is the main driving intrigue of the manga, it's the world and the characters surrounding the orb that really makes this manga special. The first chapter alone is just spectacular, and I don't really want to say too much more just in case you have not checked it out, because I really think it's just awesome in how it sets everything up. I heavily found myself really enjoying the story, and as the chapters progressed, the story was going in a couple of directions I thought was really interesting. I'm curious where the story is going to go after everything I read, because it looks like time is going to keep moving forward, and the people the orb grows close to is going to grow, change, and die. But the orb still exists, just watching it all unfold. How will it deal with that? I'm going to give it an S. Okay, this manga is really random and I freaking love it. First of all, isn't it crazy that we've gone through so many of these mangas and we haven't had a single isekai recommended to us? Isekai, for anyone wondering, is the idea of our main character dying and being reincarnated as like another person in usually another world. The world of anime and manga have taken this concept and run wild with it, turning characters into spiders or slimes or vending machines. Well, today, our main character, Genji, riding a motorcycle, almost crashes into a girl, barely saving her life by swerving out of the way. The two of them manage to actually survive this encounter, and what do you know? It's love at first sight. The two characters later on agree to go on this date to their local aquarium, and it's really adorable. But Faith had other plans because Ginju gets in another motorcycle accident and dies. This is when he meets this angelic being who says Ginju's death was premature and not supposed to happen. So he gives him a couple of options. He can either choose to stay dead or be reincarnated as an animal, live out its entire lifespan, and after that animal dies, can he put his soul back in his original body? It's really confusing. I don't know. Look, just go with it, okay? So Ginju, out of every single animal he could have possibly chosen to reincarnate as, he chooses a penguin. And from there on, he manages to become the leader of this penguin tribe. He escapes the zoo he was born in and somehow gets adopted by the girl that he fell in love with. This story is like a wacky adventure comedy series. It's an older manga with a lot of charm and fun ideas here. And if you're looking for something goofy to pass the time, I'd recommend checking it out. I liked it, but it didn't blow me away. I'll give it a B. I don't really know how to talk about this one. You know those manga series that start off in such an unexpected way that even just giving the premise away would low-key spoil the story? The beginning of the series is just that. Genuinely, I just didn't expect the story to keep going in all these different directions. I thought it was going to be this romance series, but it's not. It's like more of a murder mystery series. Okay, so there's this guy revisiting his hometown for the first time in about 2 years. He is showing up to attend the funeral of one of his childhood best friends. It's really sad and just honestly not the start I was expecting to a manga like this. The thing is, the autopsy report for the girl shows that the girl might not have actually died from natural causes, rather someone on the island might have murdered her. I don't want to say much more than that because the story takes the concept and does something pretty freaking crazy with it. Look, I've heard this manga's name be passed around in different discussions, and now I think I know why. On this island, there's a bunch of characters who are involved in all of this, and I'm really curious as the plot progresses how each one of them will contribute to this. Who really knows what happened to this girl? Are any of them the killers? And oh my god, some of the events that happens in some of these chapters are actually insane. I like this series quite a bit. I'll give it an A. Yeah, you read the title correctly. So another YouTuber, Houston JPG, suggested this one, and yeah, I checked it out for this video. Why did you suggest this? What made you want to do this? So after checking out the series, I gotta say, sadly, oh my god, it's not that bad. This is a story about a guy in this fantasy world being kicked out of his guild. He is annoyed by this, but decides, all right, yeah, I mean, whatever, I'm just gonna dip. See, our main character has a secret, and that secret is that he used to be a 45-year-old man living in Japan and has been isekai'd into this world, a world where older women are pretty much treated horribly. Our main character goes on to start his own guild with the mother of the dude that kicked him out of his guild, which is wild. He also gets her to fall in love with him, marries her, and even sleeps with her. And apparently as the manga progresses, this dude's entire party is going to be filled with older women. This manga is the equivalent of brain rot or doom scrolling on TikTok or Instagram. It's enjoyable, and there are some moments where you're really invested, but then an hour goes by and you're like, man, why did I just spend my time reading this? This manga is slop, but honestly, it's not bad slop, but it's still slop. I'm gonna give this series an A. When looking through the list of recommendations, after hearing the description of this one, oh my god, I just had to check it out. This is a story about a 14-year-old boy who can turn into Santa Claus. That's actually awesome. He still is himself, but he just becomes like super buff, old, and for some reason is fireproof. The full capabilities of what he can do as Santa Claus is not fully clear yet, but I think that is honestly one of the most interesting parts of the whole thing. I will be honest, the initial 5 chapters was not really enough for me because honestly, it left me wanting more. I felt like there was a lot of charm here and the mangaka was genuinely having fun when making this. But like, where is this going? I don't really know. The ending of chapter 5 gives us a little tease at this villain organization that looks like they want to defeat Santa Claus, I'm guessing. Aw, shoot, man, that sounds so cool. What other powers is Santa Claus going to have? I feel like there's just so many possibilities with this manga and I just want to know what happens next. I'm also a huge fan of the art style. It's like really weird and everything is kind of awkwardly drawn, adding to this really unique look to the manga that I genuinely just really like looking at. I'm gonna give Sanda an S+. This series is heavily carried by its cast of characters, which is a group that I like. So if you don't like the cast of characters, you might not like this one. If you were to ask me what I would guess the premise for this series would be, I would have jokingly said that it's a fantasy series about a group of dungeon adventurers making food. And then I would have waited for you to tell me I was wrong. And then you would have stayed quiet because that's exactly what the series is. This is deadass a collection of chapters where the main characters go, I think I want some spaghetti today. And then another character is like, oh, well, then we have to fight the Italian monster that has spaghetti noodles for fingers. And then the group is like, what? Is that really a thing? And then the dwarf guy chef is like, oh yeah, that's really a thing. And then they beat up the monster and make the food. It's honestly really silly and kind of a little repetitive, but the thing is the manga just has so much charm to it and the chapters are all just so fun. Plus, I bet as the story gets more chapters under its belts, the characters will start going on multi-chapter long story arcs that will really take the manga to the next level. But for right now, all I read was just this establishing material and man, it's pretty fun. So if you were looking for a manga with some lighthearted fun set in a medieval fantasy-like setting, this is the manga I would recommend for you to check out. Or the MILF Party one, you could check that one out as well. Seriously though, it's really a hit or miss if you like the characters or not. I think a lot of them are really cool. I like 3 out of the 4. I thought the main knight dude was kinda all right in my eyes, but the other 3, super solid. I'm gonna give this series an A. Okay, so I'm a huge Nintendo fan. I mean, I literally just made a video where I watched every Pokemon movie ever made. Zelda is a game franchise I adore. And recently I started the process of completing every single 3D Zelda game because it's on my bucket list of things I want to do and I think it'd be really fun. But hey, enough about that. How is the Twilight Princess manga? Pretty good. And a bit shocking. So I've never played through Twilight Princess before, so I don't really know much about the overarching story, but I have seen the beginning of the game, and this opening section of the manga follows that story format pretty closely, while also changing things up a bit. The main way it shakes things up is by having Link speak, which seriously, I had to do a double take when I saw this. The Nintendo character famous for being mute and only letting out yells is actually having full-blown conversations with people. I think if you're a fan of the Zelda franchise, this is a solid, very, very solid series to check out. The artwork in the manga is actually spectacular. I did not expect this level of quality to be on display with a series like this. The opening 5 chapters I read were a bit slow, but they do a nice job in setting up the world and its premise while also leaving some room for mystery. Why is Link getting these nightmares about a golden wolf? Also, Link stumbled into this town about 1.5 years ago. Where did he come from? And what is he not telling people? Super cool stuff, and it makes me want to play through this game. For anyone wondering, I just started the Ocarina of Time, so I still have a couple of games that I need to get through before I get to this one, but I will be playing this game. It's gonna be sick. I'm gonna give Twilight Princess an A. If you were to search up a list of popular romance series to check out, Fruit Basket is bound to be on this list. The series is quite popular and has been a name I've heard tossed around for years. I'll be real, I don't really know why it's called Fruit Basket. I feel like it actually has nothing to do with the main plot, but whatever. A girl named Honda is living in she's living in a tent. It's in pretty much the middle of nowhere. After meeting and becoming friends with these 2 guys who find out about her predicament, she's offered to stay at their home, which I'm realizing now as I'm saying it out loud is a really weird setup, but it didn't really seem that bizarre in the manga. These guys have a secret, and a pretty weird one. Their family tree has been cursed with the spirit animals of the 12 calendar zodiacs plus the cat zodiac. Whenever the members of this family grow weak or are hugged by members of the opposite gender, they transform into these animals. Now, I know what you're probably thinking, because I was thinking it too. When they transform into these animals, they probably get some kind of cool ability, right? Like they shoot fireballs or, I don't know, fly. But no, genuinely that's it. They just turn into animals. Yeah, so. At first I was like really confused by the concept, but the more I kept reading, the more I found it kind of fun. Like, notably because the characters' personalities are heavily affected by the animals that they turn into. The cat character is very distant and fierce, getting very hot-headed about things and easily annoyed. But the more you spend time with them, the more you can see that deep down, they can actually be very sweet. Also, there's this rat character that's very sneaky and deceitful, often knowing how to play with people to get them to like him or believe in him. But you come to find out that he constantly feels like he's putting up an act. He feels like he has to put up this act, or else no one's gonna appreciate him for who he truly is. As I was reading through these chapters, more and more of the Zodiac members started to appear, and honestly, I just really like how unique each one of them is written. The series seems really fun, genuinely a good time. I'm gonna give this one an A. This story reminds me a lot of the John Wick movies, but it's like kind of the reverse of what happens in those movies. Where John Wick was a retired hitman forced to come back into the life, Fable is a hitman told to disappear from the world of killing. And oh my god, this series is such a banger! Something about the first chapter had my eyes glued to these pages, and I genuinely just couldn't put this manga down. Our main character, who people call Fable, is a very relaxed and cautious character. He can and will kill you if need be. He is a prodigy at his craft and does not get affected by the game. Seeing moments where he is outsmarting the ones around him or forcing situations to go in his favor is just so fun to follow along. The writing is genuinely the greatest part of this whole thing. The manga manages to combine a perfect blend of taking itself seriously, but also slowing down and allowing for some really funny moments to emerge. Like, there's this one scene where two gentlemen ask Fable how, hypothetically speaking, would he go about killing the two of them. Fable says that he'd take out the first guy and reach for his gun in his armpit and take out the other. The two of them are startled by the fact that Fable was able to identify that there's a gun on him. They proceed to ask him, okay, well, how would you manage to kill the 10 guys waiting to ambush the room in case something like that were to happen? Fable's like, that's pretty easy. I would just take the second gun you guys have stashed on your person as well. Oh my god, that was so cool. Oh, it's just sick. Actually sick stuff. The two gentlemen are very impressed by Fable's skills, and just as he's about to leave, Fable tells one of them that they have a nose hair sticking out, and then in the next scene, we see the guy working on trying to pluck it out. It's like so funny. This didn't need to be in the manga, but it's there, and I really liked it, and it made me smile, and I just like when mangakas add stuff like this. I could not put this manga down. I finished the first 5 chapters, and I kept going and going and kept reading and reading and reading and reading and reading. This was genuinely a blast to read, and honestly, it might be my favorite series I read out of everything so far. I give this series an S+. So is there any manga you're interested in checking out? Thank you to everybody who filled out the form. I literally couldn't have made this video without you. If you're interested in filling out the form but missed out, don't worry, I'm gonna put the link down below, and depending on how this video does, I might make a part 2 and you could be in it. Also, if you haven't checked out Manga Mart, I seriously recommend you doing so. They're actually such a cool site. Thank you for all the support on the channel, guys, and thank you to my channel members for sticking by me and supporting me. I'm gonna be posting a behind the scenes video, kind of going in depth about the making of this video. So if you're into the whole how do I make content side of YouTube, you can become a channel member and go check that out. Anyways, thank you for watching the video. Hit subscribe, trying to hit 100,000 subscribers, and go watch some of my other videos. Bye, guys. I'm gonna go read the Fable.